Hello friends, I welcome you in lecture number 6 on elementary analytic functions. In today's session, we are going to discuss about trigonometric and hyperbolic functions of complex variables. So first we define complex trigonometric functions and then we will go for complex hyperbolic functions. So this is the definition for trigonometric functions. Let z equal to x plus iy be a complex variable. Then complex sine and cosine functions are defined using these two formulas. Cos z is e to the power iz plus e to the power minus iz divided by 2, and sin z is e raised to iz minus e raised to minus iz divided by 2i. So here you can see we are defining these trigonometric functions using complex exponential function. The difference is here we have positive sign, that is here it is negative. Here we divide by 2 and here we divide by 2i. Now remaining functions are defined as in the case of real variable. Tan z is defined as quotient of sin z and cos z. Cot z is quotient of cos z and sin z. Sec z is 1 over cos z and cosec z is 1 over sin z. So these definitions are similar to the definitions in real case. Now we define hyperbolic functions. Let z equal to x plus iy be a complex variable. Then complex hyperbolic cosine and sine are defined as cos hyperbolic z equal to e to the power z plus e to the power minus z over 2. And for sine hyperbolic z we have to just replace this positive sign by negative sign. So that is sine hyperbolic z is e raised to z minus e raised to minus z over 2. Remaining hyperbolic functions are defined as in the case of trigonometric functions. Tan hyperbolic z is reciprocal of quotient of sin hyperbolic z with cos hyperbolic z. Similarly, cot hyperbolic z is cosine hyperbolic z over sin hyperbolic z. Sec hyperbolic z is 1 over cos hyperbolic z, and cos hyperbolic z is reciprocal of sin hyperbolic z. So let us do some examples related to these definitions. So it is given that if y is any real number, prove that cosine of I into y is nothing but cos hyperbolic y, and sine of I into y is nothing but I sine hyperbolic y. So using definition we can easily prove this. Okay, we just recall the definition of cos z, which is e raised to iz plus e raised to minus iz over 2, and cos hyperbolic z is e raised to z plus e raised to minus z over 2. So this gives us the relationship between cos trigonometric function and cos hyperbolic function. So we start with left hand side, cos iy. So I into y is nothing but pure imaginary number. So in this definition we have to replace z by I into y. Our complex number here is I into y. So we replace z by I into y, and then we will simplify over 2. So this we can rewrite as e to the power I square y plus e to the power minus I square y over 2. And as we know, I square is minus 1. So if we put I square equal to minus 1, we have e raised to minus y. If I square is minus 1 will be plus 1. So here we have e raised to y plus 2. Now this is nothing but definition of this cos hyperbolic z. instead of z we have y here, so here we write cos hyperbolic y. So what we have shown, cos iy is nothing but cos hyperbolic y, where y is any real number. So this is very important result, we are going to use this. Now similar result is for sine function. So definition of sine function is sin z is e raised to iz minus e raised to minus iz over 2i, and sine hyperbolic z is e raised to z plus e raised to minus z over 2. Instead of positive sign we have negative sign for sine function. For cosine it is positive. So we have to find out sine of I into y. So z is nothing but I into y. So we replace z by I into y, and then we simplify over 2i. Now if we simplify this, we obtain e to the power I square y minus I square y over 2i, and if we put I square equal to minus 1, it is e to the power minus y minus e to the power y. I square is minus 1, so minus 1 plus 1 divided by 2i. Now 1 upon I is nothing but minus I, so we can write 1 upon I equal to minus I. So e raised to minus y minus e raised to y over 2, and I am using this result. 1 upon I is minus I, and if we take negative sign inside the bracket, I keep I as it is and I take this negative sign inside the bracket. So we will have e to the power y minus e to the power minus y over 2. But this is nothing but, this bracket is nothing but sine hyperbolic y. So we finally obtain, therefore sine iy is nothing but I times sine hyperbolic y. So it is different from that cosine property. In cosine property, cos iy is cos hyperbolic y, so I is eliminated, but here I will be multiplied with sine hyperbolic y. So these are two important properties. Using these two properties we can find out real and imaginary parts of sine and cosine functions, and we can use this real and imaginary parts of sine and cosine to show that they are differentiable as well as analytic functions. So first we prove this. If z is x plus iy, sin z is sin x cos hyperbolic y plus I times cos x sin hyperbolic y. Similar result is for cos z. Sometimes they ask in this way also, find real and imaginary parts of sin z and cos z. So let us try to prove this. We will do for sin z. For cosine z you can do in the similar way. So I am doing part 1 only, part A only. So we have z equal to x plus iy. So we substitute this in sin z. So then sin z is nothing but sin of x plus iy. Now using that formula, sin alpha plus beta is sin alpha cos beta plus cos alpha sin beta. We have sin x cos iy plus cos x sin iy, and we just showed that cos iy is nothing but cos hyperbolic y, and in sin iy I will come out, so it is I times cos x into sin hyperbolic y. Sin iy is replaced by I times sin hyperbolic y. So we just have to mention what we are using, because we are using that cos iy is cos hyperbolic y and sin iy is I sin hyperbolic y. So real part of sin z is sin x cos hyperbolic y, imaginary part is cos x sin hyperbolic y. Similar result you can derive for cosine function using these two properties. So we are not doing for cosine function. Now here we are asked to prove that absolute value of sin z square is sin square x plus sin hyperbolic square y. Same thing for cosine z. So we try this part A, and part B is similar to that part A. So I am doing only one part, and first we have to find out sin z in terms of its real and imaginary parts, which we just did in above example, taking x plus iy, z equal to x plus iy, we obtain sin x cos iy plus cos x sin iy, and here cos iy is nothing but cos hyperbolic y, and in sin cos sin iy is I sin hyperbolic y. So sin iy is I times sin hyperbolic y. But we are asked to find out absolute value of sin z, square of absolute value of sin z. So by the definition of absolute value of sin z square is nothing but square of real part, which is sin square x into cos hyperbolic square y, plus square of imaginary part, which is cos square x into sin hyperbolic square y. Now if you concentrate on right hand side, there is no cosine term here, so we must replace cosine terms using some identities. So if you remember, we have this identity, this we already know, cos square x plus sin square x is 1, and for hyperbolic functions we have cos hyperbolic square y minus sin hyperbolic square y equal to 1. So I will replace this cos square x by 1 minus sin square x, and cos hyperbolic square y will be replaced by 1 plus sin hyperbolic square y. So absolute value of sin z square equal to sin square x, I replace cos hyperbolic square y by 1 plus sin hyperbolic square y. Similarly, cos square x is replaced by 1 minus sin square x times sin hyperbolic square y. Now we simplify this and let us see what we obtained. Therefore, absolute value of sin z square is, if we multiply this, sin square x plus sin square x times sin hyperbolic square y plus 1 into sin hyperbolic square y, which is sin hyperbolic square y, minus sin square x, this sin square x into sin hyperbolic square y. So you can see these two terms will cancel each other. Sin square x sin hyperbolic square y minus sin square x sin hyperbolic square y. So what we obtained is absolute value of sin z square is nothing but sin square x plus sin hyperbolic square y. So let us check. Okay, so it is sin square x plus sin hyperbolic square y. Similarly, you can prove this second identity that I am not doing here. Now next example is prove that sin z is analytic everywhere, also find its derivative, or prove that sin z is entire function. So this is very useful property of sine function. So first we show that sin z is differentiable for all z, then we will prove its analyticity. So as usual, we have to start by taking z equal to x plus iy. Then sin z is nothing but sin of x plus iy, which is nothing but sin x cos iy plus cos x sin iy. Again, using that relationship between trigonometric and hyperbolic functions, we can replace cos iy by cos hyperbolic y, and sin iy is replaced by I sin hyperbolic y. So it is I cos x sin hyperbolic y. Now to prove that sin z is analytic everywhere, first we have to check differentiability of sin z. Now this sin z is written in terms of u plus iv. So for differentiability we will use Cauchy-Riemann equation. So if you assume that suppose this is equal to u plus iv, then you can see u is sin x cos hyperbolic y and v is cos x sin hyperbolic y. So to check the differentiability, we first have to check the Cauchy-Riemann equations. So we find out partial derivatives of u and v with respect to x and y. So del u by del x here is cos hyperbolic y constant, derivative of sin x is cos x. So it is cos x cos hyperbolic y. Del u by del y is sin x as it is, derivative of cos hyperbolic y is sin hyperbolic y. Similarly, del v by del x is sin hyperbolic y constant, derivative of cos x is minus sin x. So it is minus sin x sin hyperbolic y, and del v by del y is cos x as it is, derivative of sin hyperbolic y is cos hyperbolic y. So now you can observe here del u by del x and del v by del y are equal at each point in the complex plane. Similarly, uy and vx are negative of each other. So therefore what we can observe is del u by del x equal to del v by del y and del u by del y equal to minus del v by del x are satisfied at each point in the complex plane. And as we know that this del u by del x, del u by del y, del v by del x, del v by del y are trigonometric functions, they are always continuous. So clearly del u by del x, del u by del y, del v by del x, del v by del y are continuous at every point in the plane. So both the conditions for differentiability are satisfied. So therefore we can write that sin z is differentiable for all points z in the complex plane. Sin z is differentiable everywhere. Means it is differentiable at each point in the complex plane. And as we know that if function is differentiable everywhere, it is analytic everywhere. So therefore we can directly write sin z is analytic everywhere. And the function which is analytic everywhere is known as entire function. So therefore sin z is entire function. So this is all about today's session. You